The reason many people don't hit their goals or create the business and life they want isn't for a lack of willpower or commitment. Often, it's the lack of the right tools to turn their goals and dreams into reality. Now, tune into this episode where we talk through a powerful tool to help you plan a super successful year where you have more time for fun and vacations as well as improving your business.
Yeah, maybe you're planning to lose weight or get fitter or stronger or spend more time with the important people in your life or maybe improve your business.
Stuff just keeps coming up and it keeps filling up your day, and day after day, week after week, month after month goes by, and you're really in no different position than when you started.
Your life, your relationships, your health, all of this can happen for you all at once.
Being busy, but not busy making progress.
Unfortunately, our present self sabotages our future self more often than not.
The best way to predict the future is to create it, and you create it by actually using this principle of the preloaded year. Well, welcome to the podcast. Tony Fraser-Jones, your host here, with my good mate Phil Smith.
Yeah, nice to be here, bro.
Yeah, it's nice to be here as well, bro.
Yeah, jumping right in.
We are. This is a good, juicy topic today, and a great time to think about it as well. So what are we getting into?
Well, we're talking about how you often start the year with really good intentions to, do things like take more vacations or, maybe you're planning to lose weight or get fitter or stronger or spend more time with the important people in your life or maybe improve your business.
Hopefully improve your business. That's why you're listening.
Yeah, but unfortunately, life gets in the way and those good intentions often meet their demise.
They do, and it leaves you feeling frustrated and a little bit empty and probably a bit annoyed with yourself as well. And I think we've all been there, especially at the start of the year. We seem to kind of set some intentions and stuff. So I think the thing about this podcast today is to understand that most goals aren't reached or changes aren't made, not because people are weak or lack willpower. Or there's probably some people who are a little bit.
Yeah, maybe some.
But not most, to be honest.
Yeah.
Most people are pretty good. But what they do is they lack the skills and the strategies to actually make the important things in their life a priority, which is a really different thing. So today's sessions is all about looking at a tool and a skill set that'll help make the changes you want actually stick. That's the key thing, because willpower will only take you so far. I've got a friend who is a personal trainer, and we'll have a meal together, and the fries are sitting on the table, and if they sit there long enough, he knows he's going to eat some of them. So he pours water on them so nobody eats them. Well, it's you've got to have the strategies to stop yourself indulging. And so what we're going to look at today is something called the preloaded year, which is how you set yourself up for success for this year. So kind of excited for this one, mate.
Yeah, definitely excited. And, definitely you're the one who's disappointed when the water goes on the fries. You're a big fry man yourself.
I always
order
fries.
Yeah,
I do.
You always order fries for the table, and we know it's not for the table, it's for you.
And I have to be honest, I order them and then everyone tucks in, and there's a little part of me that gets a little bit antsy, a little bit frustrated, like, hey, come on, leave me some fries.
Yeah, well, I'm going to pour water on them next time. So anyway, man, I'm sure you have a story to kick us off.
I do. This is an oldie but a goodie. I really like this story. There's a professor who's teaching a class, and he has a glass jar, has a pile of rocks, pebbles, and sand on desk, and he's asking the class, how do I actually get these all in the jar? And so there's all sorts of suggestions from the students. Most of them will chuck the sand in, chuck the pebbles in, and try and jam the rocks in. But it doesn't really work, because once you put the sand in the jar, it doesn't leave a lot of space for the pebbles, and definitely there's not space for the rocks. And so the way to actually get these in there is kind of not the way you think. You actually need to take the big rocks and you carefully place them inside the jar. Then you get the pebbles and you pour them in, you shake them around, and they'll find space around those big rocks. Looks like the jar's kind of full, but actually you can get the sand, because it's very small, and you can sprinkle it around all the little gaps. It fills up all the gaps, and all of a sudden you've got everything in the jar. And so how does that apply to what we're talking about here? Well, it's really simple. The big rocks are those really important things in your life that you want to make happen this year. And they might be, business-related successes or health things or whatever they are, vacations you want to take. And unless you put those things in first, it's not going to work. Your glass is like your time. It's like the year, the amount of time that you've got to look at things. So it's a really cool tale, and it helps us frame how we're actually going to put things together today.
Yeah, and unfortunately, if we don't do it that way, then those big rocks are what tends to miss out the most important stuff.
Yeah, they sit outside the jar and never get addressed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And frankly, most people's life ends up being like that because they don't have the skill set to make this work.
You spend your time on all that sand, and honestly, then there's no time to do any of the stuff that's actually important to you. So yeah, if you don't preload your year and you don't actually look at a good tool to do this differently, you run into some issues.
Yeah, the first thing is you do get caught in the day-to-day whirlwind of life. In effect, you get hooked on dealing with sand all the time, shoveling sand. And so stuff just keeps coming up, and it keeps filling up your day, and day after day, week after week, month after month goes by, and you're really in no different position than when you started. And that's really frustrating because you feel like you're not making any progress. You're just being busy, but not busy making progress. And there's a real difference, and the difference in mindset is massive. If you're busy going somewhere, that feels like it's worthwhile. But if you're busy just doing the same stuff different day, it does mess with your head.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess the long-term thing is if you're always working with the small stuff, your business becomes just repeat. Your life becomes repeat. It's like Groundhog Day, day after day, or like the rat and the spinning wheel, the hedgehog type running around in the wheel. It just never seems to change, and that's a super frustrating situation. That's what we want to avoid.
Yeah.
Willpower will help here, but it's not going to get you all the way.
No, that's right. But on the other hand, if we do actually have a preloaded gear, a good tool to actually get across this, we have big upsides.
Yeah, I think we focus on the big changes. It allows us to actually prioritize the big rocks that are important to us, which means we're focusing on the long-term stuff, and that's the key thing here. The sand is short-term, the big rocks are the long-term things which are actually going to make a difference. We'll see real change because we're working on the stuff that counts, and we're going to feel positive, confident, and excited about what we're achieving, which is a whole different mindset, which is what we want for the year ahead.
Yeah, totally. So let's dig into this, man. Where do you want to start?
Well, I think the big idea is kind of the story, isn't it? It's absolutely critical to get the big rocks in our calendar. And so the two parts to the preloaded year really are big rocks and your calendar, and bringing them together.
Yeah.
And that's making sure that all the important stuff is actually accounted for before you start.
Yeah.
Because if you don't make it a priority before you start, once you start, it's too easy for other stuff to take over. And that's really the key thing. Because if you don't make it a priority, life will get in the way. And stuff will seem important in the moment, even though it's not. And a classic example there is, vacation might be important. If you think about taking the vacation in 2 weeks' time, you're like, hey, how am I ever going to make that work? Because I'm jammed up. My calendar's already got appointments in it. I've got jobs. I've got stuff happening. But if you block your calendar out in advance, 6 months, whatever, it's done. It's going to happen because you've made it a priority and it's in there. So I think that's the big idea, and it's just understanding that what are the big rocks? The big rocks are the things that are important: vacations, training, planning days, business projects that you want to get done. All that stuff is a big rock, and you want to make sure that you make it a priority.
Yeah, massively. And I think, obviously we have a lot of people that we, dealing with day to day in our $1 Million Tradie program. And it's funny because when people are having issues, either with their business or their life, one of the first things we do is we say, hey, can you pull up your calendar? And the reason that we do this is because when we look at people's calendar, we can usually see the problem that they're having right there in their calendar. For example, hey, look, I'm stuck. My business has not been growing for a long time. Look at their calendar. Sure enough, there is nothing in there at all that is focused on business growth. They're not, prioritizing any time for new sales. They're not doing any marketing activities. They're not working on any kind of, strategy for growth. They're not hiring or anything like that. So, it's just not there. How is it going to happen? By magic? Well, someone comes and says, hey, business is going all right, but I've put on a lot of weight lately. I just need to start looking after my health a bit. Look at their calendar. Sure enough, they don't do any exercise. They're not going to the gym. They're not going for a walk. They're not having any runs. They're not doing any, sort of bushwalking, swimming, anything. It's just not on their calendar. Nothing. And their calendar's jam-packed, so there's no way that that's going to happen by magic. And they're telling themselves stories like, I'll go to the gym, sometime this week. And you look at their calendar, I'm like, when? There are no times for it. People say, hey, look, I'm business is starting to go okay. I'm making some more money, but I'm not getting enough time with my wife or my kids. And I'm like, cool, pull up your calendar. Sure enough, there's nothing in the calendar for that. Like, no lunch breaks blocked out to have with your wife. There's no date night, that's planned for Thursday. There's no, time after work to spend with the kids. And more importantly is, maybe even to the point where there's no time for them to do some of their actual business activities like payroll or scheduling or invoicing, because they may be on the tools all day. And as a result, it's like, well, the reason you have no time with your kids is because you haven't put invoicing in your calendar. That's just happening at night, So again, all of those problems, the symptoms are all right there in the calendar. And the reality is you cannot actually make anything happen without dedicating time to making it happen. Things don't happen by magic. There's no pill for more time with your family or more, weight loss or...
Well, there's pills for weight loss now, which is kind of...
Yeah, but honestly, like,
weird,
I don't buy into that,
No, I don't
man.
either.
Like, I think if you're taking pills for weight loss, it's going to have some effect, but at some point you do have to make some healthy changes in your lifestyle, and that will take time, time to exercise, time to prepare meals differently. And so if you're not creating that time or blocking it out, then, it's not going to happen by magic. Which really brings to the next point, which is that once you have things that you want to achieve, you need to block and book time in advance for those activities. So, if weight loss is your thing, you need to have blocked and booked time in your calendar in advance to actually do exercise or do meal prep, things like that. If it's really, really important to you that you want to grow your business this year or make it more profitable, it's like, cool, so like where are your growth activities like hiring and marketing and activity time for new sales? Like, is that blocked into your calendar in advance? And I'll get to the in advance thing in a second, but if it's not in your calendar, it's not going to happen. Again, if you want to spend more time with your significant other, cool, so like block it in your calendar in advance. And so the reason we're blocking it in is so it happens, and the reason it's in advance is so that there's no time for other crap to pop up. Essentially, if you don't put the big rocks in that jar, the thing no one tells you is the sand has legs.
It does.
And it'll walk in there on its own. So like if you don't actually physically put the big rocks in before the sand gets a chance, then the sand will take its chance and it'll take up the big rock space. And so if we wait for, on the day or on the week to try to see if I'm going to get time to have a date night with my wife, guess what? We won't. Whereas, if I block 3 weeks in advance, I say, hey, let's have a date night 3 weeks on Thursday night, block it in the calendar. Now it's going to happen. And even better, pay for it. Pay for it now. Like if you can pay in advance, you want to go on a holiday, I'm like, cool, like pick a time 6 months from now when you're going to take a big holiday with your family and book the flights, book the accommodation, pay for all of it right now. And now you have to go. And you'll work everything else around it, just like how you work pebbles and sand around rocks. It's the same principle.
I think the thing about the sand, which is kind of weird because it's the least important, but it feels the most important in the moment.
Yeah.
The sand has this kind of urgent emotional quality to it, and it comes in the form of phone calls about problems on jobs. It comes in the form of suppliers with issues, or clients who are frustrated, or team members who are being less than helpful, or people who won't pay. And that's kind of important, but they're important in the short term. And so they feel very urgent. And the trouble is if we attend to those all the time, it's a constant short-term focus, and we've actually not done anything to improve those urgent things cropping up all the time. We haven't done anything in a big picture
Absolutely.
to actually fix the business, the systems, the processes, to fix your life, to get your energy back by actually taking vacations, by blocking them in, or making time with your wife or your kids, or coaching a kid's sports team, or putting your gym time in the calendar.
Your health.
Often for a lot of us, and I've found this, we've got 4 kids and you've got 3, and as they get older, life gets really busy as well with their activities. You can't find more time out of hours either. You actually have to start prioritizing some of this stuff in your work time, if it's health stuff, for example, because if you've got a bunch of kids running, you can't just check out every night to go to the gym, or some people do. Mate, it's probably not that great for your relationship.
There.
It's a trade-off.
If you do that, you could do that, but then now you're not doing the time with the kids. So it's like if you want to, prioritize your kids and your health, then, to do both means that one of those things probably has to happen during the day, which means that something that you would normally do during the day has to take a back seat at some point, or otherwise you're just not fitting all those rocks in the jar. And I think the really, really sad thing is that a lot of the time, big rocks are not urgent. They're the kind of thing that can go a day without falling apart. But the problem is those days really accumulate and mount up. If you don't go on a date with your significant other this week, they're probably not leaving you this week. And you know what? They'll probably be fine about it. They'll probably be like really nice about it. Like, hey, that's cool. We'll go another time. I'm just glad that you want to do it. Something like that. But the problem is that almost sets a precedent that it's like, you can just put it off. You can just put it off. It's like your health, right? Like if you're not prioritizing your health, if you eat badly today, or you're smoking cigarettes today, or you're shoveling bad stuff into your body today, the thing is you're probably not going to die of that today. But if you continue to do that over time, that's when it makes a big problem for you. Again, if you're not taking a vacation this week, that's fine. But if you don't take a vacation for 10 years, you're going to be burnt out. So the problem is all of these really important things that really enrich your life and make it worth living. And remember, business is a vehicle for you to have a great life. It's not your life. So if you want to have that great life, these things that make you have a great life are so easy to put off, and they'll never penalize you today for not doing them today. But if you don't prioritize them today, then they never happen, and that's when it becomes a problem.
And that you get to a stage where they haven't hurt you, then all of a sudden you get a big smack around the ear hole, like my relationship's in trouble, all of a sudden my blood pressure's super high, or my cholesterol's high, or I have a medical episode, and that's the accumulation of neglect. That's the accumulation of focusing on sand rather than actually prioritizing those big rocks.
Yeah, and that's it. The sand has the most power to climb into that jar on its own, but it's the most worthless thing to be in the jar. Whereas the rock will never go in there on its own. You have to put it in, but it's the most important thing to be in there. So it's a real it's a real problem, and it's a very opposite effect. So got to block and book.
You do. You block and book, and it's a very powerful psychological thing. And I think sort of following up from that is your cash flow actually follows your calendar. And you could insert anything for cash flow there. Your relationship follows your calendar. Your health follows your calendar. It's basically result follows calendar. And as I said, it applies to every area of life. And Alan Kay has a quote which I really love: is the best way to predict the future is to create it. And you create it by actually using this principle of the preloaded year, which is the big rocks in your calendar in advance, so the good shit actually happens.
Yeah.
That's really the thing in a nutshell.
Yeah, well, you can't always control the result you're going to get from stuff, but you can control whether you actually did the actions that get that result. And so that's really what this is about. And I think this does take some work. Like, if you want to preload a whole year, you really have to put some forethought into this. You might sit down for a couple of days and plan out everything you're going to do. You know, you might plan out exactly what holidays you're going to take for the whole year. Now, for those of you that are like, I love spontaneity, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. You can have some spontaneous holidays in between, but please block and book at least one or two, just so that your spontaneity doesn't turn into nothing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you might like spontaneity, but then spontaneously work gets busy and you don't do it. So, like, you do have to put some thought into this.
We block every school holiday. It's in the calendar.
The thing is that we do this in advance, you know, and again, all of the, you know, the really important meetings that we're going to have throughout the year for Profitable Tradie, they're all in the calendar already. You know, so I think the really big thing here is you're going to have to put some thought into, like, what are the business activities that you're going to definitely commit to for the year, so that you actually can make time for it to improve your business. You're going to have to commit to what holidays you want to take, block and book them in advance at the start of the year. This takes time, planning, effort. You know, you might commit to the fact that you want to coach your kids' little league team, or, you know, their soccer team or whatever this year. That's great, cool. But, like, so get the season dates and figure out what day training will be and block it into your calendar on those dates for the year. You know, like, you have to block this all at the start, and that does take some hard work right up front. You know, but the thing is that hard work up front means you work hard once, and then you can just blissfully and ignorantly follow that plan all year without it, you know, feeling like too much to organize or to figure out or to get your head around or prioritize. You just follow the plan. And it's the same when you do anything. If you want to do it well, you know, like, it's like measure twice, cut once, you know, like, I mean, recently I've been renovating my caravan.
Is that after you wrapped it around a pole?
I did not wrap it around a pole, actually. But the
Really?
thing, really, I didn't wrap it around a pole. I don't know where you
Not
got that
defensive
idea.
there, bro.
Well, I just want the listeners to know I'm not wrapping my caravan around poles. But anyway, point is that I wanted to replace the floor, so I ripped up all the old vinyl. And I've sanded it back, and I prepped it all nicely, and I've got this new floor to put down, and I thought to myself I'd be real smart and make a little template for it, so then it was something else, so then I could put it on top and cut it perfectly once and just chuck it straight down. And then I thought to myself, while I'm putting it on top of the new roll of vinyl and cutting it out, got my template ready, I thought, I don't want to get pen marks on the top, so I'll flip it upside down and I'll do it on the bottom. And obviously I didn't think this through hard enough at the start, because flipping it upside down meant I cut the template out upside down and ruined the whole roll, so I had to get another one. So my point is think hard once, think hard properly once, and really put the time and effort into planning out an entire year once, and then your year will be easy and you'll achieve everything you want to achieve, you know, across your business improvement, your life, your relationships, your health. All of this can happen for you all at once. Like, you don't have to do one or the other. You just have to make time for all of it. And so putting that effort in up front is really going to pay off in spades.
It is. And this concept of preloading, we've found, you know, growing our own business and working with a number of larger businesses in our $1 Million Tradie and our boardroom programs, is that it's one of the secrets to growing a really substantial business as well, because as a business gets bigger, availability becomes more difficult. You've got more managers, more people, more bums on seats to organise, and so the planning of this becomes absolutely critical. So the communication in the business is really important. And so, for instance, you have to plan the social events in advance. You should plan the social events for your business out for the year. You have to plan the performance reviews out. You have to plan the strategy meetings so that all your key people can be in the same place at the same time, because if you don't block it in their calendar at the start, they'll book meetings over the top of it, and it's almost impossible to get people together. You've got to plan the key meetings out. We go right down to planning things like if we run coaching events or training events, planning the reviews of those. They're all in the calendar, and so you've got to put all your training days for your apprentices and your technicians. Got to get them all in the system. You've got to do all the professional development days, the workshop cleanups. Have those scheduled. Stock takes, have them scheduled. All that stuff, you have it scheduled. All the meetings, so everyone knows where they are and it all lines up. Otherwise, it's going to be a mess and people can't communicate with each other. Control will get really difficult, and you just won't grow profitability. You'll scale a bunch of chaos and silliness, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this then applies. We obviously do this for the year and get our template for the year, but then you can get down to the weeks as well and get a little bit more granular. It's the same principle, where basically it's just making time for the things that are actually going to move the needle in the key areas of your life and your business. Means that you actually spend time on that, which means they actually improve and stay consistent. And that's really what it's about. We talked about those weight loss pills earlier. I'm like, that's cool, but you're going to take them forever? The thing that's going to really, really work for you is that consistency. I don't go to the gym sometimes and take weight loss pills for a few months. I go to the gym every day at the same time for the same amount of time and work hard.
And I don't have to think about what I'm going to do that day.
Because I just follow my plan.
You follow your plan.
Follow my plan.
Yeah, it's like you've hopped on the highway, you've clicked cruise control, you've got the maps, and off you go.
It actually gets easier.
It does get easier.
And I think that's the key, is for people that are doing this for the first time, this might be quite difficult. But you know what, is spending, again, that time up front means you're going to make this easier overall, and you're actually going to get results.
And it doesn't have to be perfect at the start. The first time you do this, it might just be you get some meeting dates in the calendar, you get your vacations in the calendar, maybe training dates in your calendar, and social events. That might be a good start, and you can build from there. But that is a great start, and you'll see the power of this. And it's just so good when you know what's happening. You don't have to make decisions about it. That just gives you so much more energy as well. It's massively important. I think the key thing here with all of this is that goal setting, trying to improve, willpower's a part of it, but really it's skill and tools are the missing piece for most people. And this concept of a preloaded year, working hard once, getting the big rocks, getting them in your schedule, in your calendar, it just makes a huge difference. It's really that missing link between the intention and the result that makes it happen.
Yeah, and it's how we honor our future. Make the big things a priority, and just give your future self a fighting chance at achieving its goals, because unfortunately our present self sabotages our future self more often than not. So give them a fighting chance, man. I think that's the big thing, and honor the future that you want by creating time to build it. I think that's really the key. So shall we land this plane?
Let's do it. Preloading means you've taken the time to put the big rocks of life and business into your calendar. And once they're in your calendar, they become a priority rather than the sand and all the other fluff that feels important on the day-to-day basis. Now, preloading really is the bridge between goals and dreams and taking the action necessary to make those goals a reality. Thanks heaps for listening. We'll catch you all again next time.
See you later.
Congratulations on being part of a select group of savvy business owners who are taking their businesses to the next level. And to help you on your journey, don't forget to check out our show notes for a copy of our free book, The Profitable Tradie, and other valuable resources. Thanks for being a part of this special group, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Profitable Tradie podcast.